You've probably heard that being lonely is bad for you. But what if it's more than just bad? What if it's dangerous? The U.S. Surgeon General has warned that lacking social connection carries a risk of premature death, similar to smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day. But the truly terrifying part is what it's doing to our brains. We're living through a friendship recession, a quiet epidemic of disconnection, and scientists are now discovering the shocking ways it physically remodels our minds, leading to memory loss and even dementia. This isn't just about feeling sad or left out. This is a neurological crisis. In this video, we're going to get into the science that links social isolation to actual physical changes in your brain, and most importantly, what you can do to fight back. 1. The anatomy of a recession. So, what exactly is this friendship recession? It's a term for the steady decline in close friendships that's been happening for decades. Back in 1990, about a third of Americans said they had 10 or more close friends. By 2021, that number had dropped to just 13%. During that same period, the number of people who say they have no close friends has roughly quadrupled from 3% to 12%. Think about the last time you got good news. Maybe a promotion, a test result, a lucky break. You picked up your phone to tell someone and paused, scrolling your contacts, realizing you didn't know who would understand, not who would answer, who would care. Think about that. We are more digitally connected than ever, yet we feel more alone. What's going on? People are moving more for work, getting married later, and joining fewer community groups, the very places that used to be the bedrock of social life. Our culture has also shifted to workism, where our careers and being productive can easily push personal relationships to the back burner. And then there's technology. The same tools that promise to bring us together are often replacing the rich, in-person connections our brains actually crave. It's like snacking on candy when your body needs a real meal. Research shows that just hearing a familiar voice can lower stress hormones and release oxytocin, the bonding hormone, more reliably than texting. While technology isn't evil, our over-reliance on it has created a social deficit. And as we're about to see, when your social life is in a recession, your brain is the one footing the bill. Here's where the story stops being sad and starts getting dangerous. 2. Your brain on loneliness. The biological toll, that pang of loneliness, it isn't just a feeling, it's a biological alarm bell. And when that alarm rings for too long, it triggers a destructive chain reaction in your brain. This is where the story gets a little scary, because the damage is physical. First, let's talk stress. Your brain sees chronic loneliness as a constant threat, like being hunted. This flips on your body's internal security system, the HPA axis, and floods you with the hormone cortisol. In an emergency, cortisol is your best friend. But when loneliness makes that emergency chronic, it's like having a fire alarm that never stops blaring. You can be sitting right beside someone you love, sharing the same couch, the same room, even the same bed, and still feel like you're a million miles away. Loneliness isn't about being alone. It's about not feeling seen. That constant stress becomes corrosive. It particularly wears on the hippocampus, a brain region that's your personal memory builder. Think of the hippocampus as the brain's librarian, organizing and storing your experiences. Chronic cortisol is like a slow water leak in the library, warping the shelves and damaging the books, making it harder to form new memories. This leads to the second major effect, a higher risk of dementia. Studies have found that socially isolated adults have a significantly increased risk of developing dementia, in some cases by as much as 50%. One major study that followed thousands of older adults for 9 years found that those who were socially isolated had a 27% higher risk of developing dementia than those who weren't. Why? A key reason is a lack of a brain workout. A simple conversation is like mental gymnastics. It forces your brain to pay attention, recall information, and come up with a response. When you lose those daily reps, the neural pathways that support those functions can weaken like an unused muscle. But here's where it becomes a vicious cycle. Loneliness doesn't just make you feel bad. It literally changes how you see the world. It's like it installs a faulty filter on your perception. It can lead to hyperactivity in the amygdala, your brain's threat detection center, making you hyper-aware of potential social rejection. It's like having a smoke detector that's become so sensitive, it goes off from a piece of burnt toast. Lonely individuals are more likely to see danger in neutral social cues, which makes them anxious and want to pull away even more. It's a cruel feedback loop. Loneliness makes you fear people, which leads to more isolation, which deepens the loneliness and speeds up the cognitive damage. The brain activation seen during social rejection can even overlap with the pathways that process physical pain, making the idea of reaching out feel genuinely dangerous. 3. How to rebuild your social brain. After hearing all that, it would be easy to feel hopeless. But here's the most important part of this video. This damage isn't necessarily permanent. Your brain has an amazing ability to change and rewire itself, a quality called neuroplasticity. Think of your brain as a landscape. Loneliness can wear a deep, isolating path into it that you walk over and over. But neuroplasticity means you can always forge new paths. Just as your brain can be harmed by isolation, it can be healed and strengthened by connection. You have to start with real, face-to-face interaction. We've learned that digital communication is often like a low-resolution photo compared to the high-definition reality of in-person contact. Being with someone triggers a cascade of positive neurochemicals. It can lower cortisol and release oxytocin, which acts like a soothing balm for your brain, buffering it from stress. Plus, shared experiences literally get our brains in sync. One study found that the brain activity of friends becomes incredibly similar when they share an experience, like watching a movie. Think of it like two guitars being tuned to play the exact same chord. That neural synchrony is the biological harmony of a strong bond. Your brain isn't just built for friendship, it runs on it. So, where do you begin? You start small. The goal isn't to become a social butterfly overnight. It's about rebuilding that social muscle, one small exercise at a time. A good first step is to gently challenge the negative thought patterns that loneliness may have burned into your brain. Instead of focusing on the fear of rejection, try to focus on the small, positive interactions you already have. Change up your routine to create opportunities for casual connection. Join a club centered on a hobby you love, hiking, books, a sports league. Volunteer for a cause you believe in. Studies show that participating in structured social programs is associated with a significant reduction in dementia risk. These settings are like a social on-ramp, giving you a low-pressure way to meet people. The shared activity gives you an instant conversation starter, lowering the barrier to entry. Think of it as building your cognitive reserve. Every meaningful social interaction, every conversation, every shared laugh is a deposit into your brain's health fund. It's an active, ongoing process of protecting your most vital organ. We started with a stark warning. The friendship recession is a threat not just to our social lives, but to our brains. We've seen how chronic loneliness can trigger a faulty internal alarm, wear down our memory centers, and trap us in a cycle of fear and isolation. It's a public health crisis that deserves to be taken as seriously as smoking or obesity. But it doesn't have to be a life sentence. The antidote is as simple as it is powerful: connection. Rebuilding our social lives isn't a trivial goal. It's one of the most vital brain health moves we can make. We are a social species, and our brains are physically wired for friendship. Denying them that connection has real, damaging consequences. So, here's my challenge to you. Right now, after this video ends, reach out to one person. Just one. A friend you haven't talked to in a while. A family member, a neighbor. Send them a text. Ask them to get a coffee. Because you're not just sending a message, you're sending your brain a lifeline. You're taking the first, most important step in fighting back against the recession, strengthening your mind, and reclaiming one of the most fundamental sources of human health and happiness. You don't need 10 best friends. You don't need a crowd. The brain doesn't crave popularity. It craves belonging. One person who checks in, one voice that knows your humor, one hand that reaches back when you reach out. That alone is enough to change the trajectory of a mind. And maybe the most hopeful part is this: friendship doesn't have to be built from childhood to be real. It can start this year, this month, tomorrow. Neuroplasticity means the brain can rebuild, and so can we. You're not too late. You're not too far gone. You're one connection away from changing your brain's future. If this message hits somewhere deep, not just in your mind, but in the space you don't talk about, then maybe that's your brain asking for more care, more connection, more strength. We're building a community here that thinks like you, feels like you, and refuses to sleepwalk through their own emotional and cognitive health. Stick around. There's more to learn, more to reclaim, and you don't have to do it alone. Subscribe. Stay close. We're growing stronger one connection at a time.